That's where I would call FinTech 3.0. FinTech 2.0, I think Plaid helped herald in the industries that are probably the most interesting are financial services and healthcare.
Today, we're diving into the creator economy, specifically how it intersects with FinTech. Our guest today is building the ultimate bank for creators. The company, Creative Juice, puts your social media and your banking all in one place. Understand the value of your brand and even get access to unique financial tools tailored for creators. Sima Gandhi is the co-founder and CEO of Creative Juice. She's a Stanford and NYU graduate with experience in the fields of law, finance, and of course, the creator economy. Having worked as a policy advisor at the Department of Treasury, Sima then moved on to American Express, where she led consumer lending strategy for 3 years. She then became employee number 15 at Plaid, where she was the head of business development and strategy, helping scale the company from 40 million to 5 billion and over 500 people. At the start of 2020, Sima realized the potential of the creator economy and founded Creative Juice alongside her co-founder, Ezra Cooperstein. I'm your host, Matthew.
And I'm your co-host, Nick. Welcome back to Founder Framework. We break down the success of distinguished entrepreneurs to uncover how you can replicate their success.
Here, you'll receive actionable insights that will guide you to your dream business, project, and lifestyle. Now, let's get into the podcast. Yeah, welcome, Sima. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. We're super excited to get into what Creative Juice does and learn more about you as well and the way you, I guess, see the world.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
So how did you identify the creator economy as the opportunity that you wanted to pursue with so much experience previously? And how did this idea come about?
So when I left Plaid, I was looking for something that would get me really excited. And I chatted with a ton of people. I spoke to a ton of different FinTech companies, like green tech companies, like you name it. I kind of explored it and talked about it. But nothing captivated me as much as Creative Juice and the concept of Creative Juice and the creator economy as a whole. And I think fundamentally it's because creators to me represent a little bit of rebel. It's a bunch of people who are creating communities around them and are starting to connect with them outside of institutions. It's like, hey, I'm building something and my content is going to appeal to you, but PBS isn't moderating it or NBC is not moderating it. You are moderating it, my audience directly. And that's such a powerful concept. And then on top of that, you can buy swag like t-shirts or, merch, right? Like other types of things from creators directly without, again, a big institution like telling you what you can buy. And that is such an amazing concept. And I think that we're in just still early beginning days of what it means to have that community that you can connect with as an individual. And that community is really being facilitated by creators. And that's the creator economy. Like I truly believe in 10 to 15 years, I don't have to just look at Pottery Barn or, whatever for my furniture options. I'll be able to connect with a creator who has a community and is building something really cool that has a magical story behind it. And I can buy my dining table from them because I believe in them and their values. And also I want to have a little bit of individualism around me. And I forget who it was, maybe Gary Vee or something was like, what you buy is the ultimate expression of yourself, right? Like what you wear, what you have. And now me as a person can choose from so many different creators around how I want to express myself. And that nothing else excited me as much as that. And when I looked at creators, though, I said, wow, this is a community that's doing so much and changing so much, but they don't really have financial services that support them or understand what they're facilitating as a business. And bringing my background in financial services to what I see as a very new green space just got me really excited.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect summary of the opportunity. And I agree, there's so much opportunity there, but there needs to be some sort of infrastructure. And it sounds like you guys are in the perfect position to deliver that. So could you actually summarize for the audience the business itself, Creative Juice, and specific products that you guys offer?
Yeah. In a nutshell, Creative Juice is banking for creators. And creators are YouTubers, they're Instagrammers, they're Etsy shops, they're on Teachable, they're on Kajabi. Like creators are people who are generating content or other types of products, but connecting with people and selling through to their fans and community. So I like to think of creators as a very broad definition. And what that means, though, is that as a business, you may be an individual, like a solopreneur, right? And you want a fully digital solution that's easy to open and manage and with a great intuitive UX, not like something clunky, that also understands what your needs are. And so that means that we do embedded invoicing. We know creators make a lot of money through brand deals and other one-off deals, but there's no great way of tracking that. I've seen so many creators with their Google Sheets. I'm like, okay, invoice, like, has it been paid? Has it not? Uh-oh, I gotta like follow up and get it. That should be done automatically for you with your bank account that tracks when the money is there. And so that's one piece that we're doing. We also know creators work often with managers or business partners. And so to have one place where you can collaborate, right? But then you as the creator still own your bank account. Like, you can, your team may change, but ultimately your bank account doesn't have to change. We make it easy for you to securely add other folks to your bank account and manage what your team looks like from a banking perspective, because your business manager may actually do all of the invoicing for you, but you want to be able to monitor that and see it all in one place. So those types of things no other bank will provide. And we wanted to be building the right banking solutions for creators that solve their needs and make it easier for creators to focus on what makes them super excited, which is creating and connecting with their communities and their fans, instead of kind of, how do I manage my LLC? What's my invoice situation? What's my cash flow? And there's a lot more coming. We're just getting started, but from just right out of the gate, we've had so much excitement from folks around, how easy it is to open, the intuitive UX, the ability to invoice, see all your data in one place, and also get simple financing solutions like boosts or juice funds.
Have you seen different products just basically come alive as you've been running Creative Juice over time? I mean, it sounds as if you started off of like one small product and then just exponentially grew and branched out into many other offerings, because you might have seen some pain points or so. Could you talk to us a little bit of that process?
Sure, Nick. Ultimately, it's banking for creators. And so when I talk about these other features, I really do call them features. It's why it's banking for creators. Initially, I'll tell you, we started off with a dashboard. We're like, oh, let's just see all your data in one place. But that was really passive. We thought that creators wouldn't be super excited about the bank account and that they just want more dashboard analytics. But actually what we found is that a lot of creators do not separate their creator business expenses from their personal expenses. And that's a problem, because when it comes to taxes, it means that you're spending hours and hours separating it, trying to justify what was business, what was personal. And one of the first things you should do as a creator when you're starting to get serious about it is create a separate business bank account that is for your creator business, so that you're tracking your expenses, and ideally you're getting some losses that you can use, right, and offset your tax income with. But if you're not doing that from the beginning, it can get messy. We also saw that a lot of folks were using Venmo and PayPal as their business means of transaction, which again gets messy because that can also be for your personal expenses. And, I think with Venmo and PayPal really trying to limit business usage and separated it from personal, they're putting fees on business usage. So I think you're paying around 3% for every transaction or something. With the business banking account, you actually don't have to worry about those fees, but we still offer, really quick P2P from one juice account to another juice account. Like, you can get your money instantly and you don't have to pay fees. So, we really decided then that we would lean into the banking account, because there really felt like a hole here for just a banking account. And it seems so simple. It's just a bank account, but there are real problems that banking can solve. And with that bank account, it gives us so much more power to do things like smart invoicing or financing. But those are the things that your bank should be doing for you. So really, it's one product, it's banking, and all of the other stuff is just what your bank should be doing for you. We just want to make your life easier as a creator.
Got it. And so you mentioned some fees and things like that. How does Creative Juice actually monetize themselves?
Yeah, great question. So today, I think get on board now, because you're going to get a lot of stuff for free. And the way we make money today is we do invest in creators. That's our Juice Funds, investing product. You can build credit with us as a creator, apply for different things, and we will invest in you, which we can talk about later as well. We offer creators easy ways to manage their cash flow. So for example, if you're on YouTube, you get your AdSense every month, but you have to wait up to 60 days. We can get it to you 30 days faster. And we've heard a lot of creators say it's such a stress relief to know that you can get your money faster, because you can make your rent payments, right? You just lease an office space, and sometimes you need that money faster, and you don't want to put all of that on a credit card because you don't want to go into debt, and it's almost impossible to get a line of credit from a bank. But you can get your own line of credit. Just manage your cash flow. Every business does it. Creator businesses are no different, and we've been able to make it really easy for creators to get boosts like that. So we do charge a small fee. It is tax deductible, but that also is a way that we can make money when we advance you money. And we make money when folks use our debit cards. That's the interchange model. Over time, though, we would like to move towards more of a subscription model, right? Where you get a basic set of solutions for free and you get more premium services as you move up that. But that's still a while to come. I'd say right now, our priority is getting folks to use it and learn from them to make sure that we're building the best product that we can for creators.
So would you say that you're letting yourselves get pulled by the creators to then build what they are asking for, or do you guys have a roadmap that you've kind of come up with yourselves and then adjusting slightly to user feedback?
User feedback is the number one driver of what we build. We have a Discord room. You guys are welcome to join. We constantly poll in there. We ask for feedback. We speak with a lot of creators and their managers and business partners to make sure that the solutions that we're building around the banking account is something that's making it easier for creators to run their businesses, because your business is legitimate. It's a real business. Is it the same as the corner store that's selling the ice cream? Like, yes and no, right? There's very different needs around that and how you're structured. Like, most likely you've got partners that come in and out. And we really want to make sure that we're capturing those nuances and creating a really amazing digital banking experience for creators.
Okay, got it. And I guess maybe a better way I could have phrased that question is, with your background in business development and strategy, when you're building out a product roadmap, how strict is that? How far out do you look, and how fluid is that process?
So that answer changes depending on how mature of a company you are. I'd say one of the most fun parts of being at a small company is that we can move quickly. So, we had a really big creator text me the other day and was like, hey, can you guys build this thing for us? And we were like, absolutely, we'll do it for you, right? We'll make space in the roadmap and do it, because that's a big creator and we want to be able to solve for real problems. And, this creator is such a, harbinger for what other creators will do, that it's worth it. If we build it and they use it, others will use it. You can't do that at a big company where your roadmap's set for a year, right? So right now, we do quarterly planning for roadmap, but we don't look out further than a quarter, because we want to leave flexibility to harden products, get feedback, and adjust. But give us another couple of years, and then, like every other company, as you mature, you have to just plan further out. But right now, it's just really fun to be nimble.
Yeah, that flexibility sounds very, very useful, especially when you have such on-demand talent coming at you. It's like, hey, can you do this for us, depending on how many subscribers you have, and basically the pulling power that's individual might have. Walk us through, like, how would you prioritize? Because you did mention a little bit about structure and planning and looking at the quarter. What are some of the criteria that you think about as you do this planning process?
Yeah. One of the biggest things is customization versus configurability. So when when we hear from creators and they want different products, one of the things we ask ourselves is this like a custom feature for a very specific creator, or is this something that we can build that's going to be scalable? And if it's kind of bespoke feeling, is it configurable, right? Because we want to be building a platform that serves many, not just, an enterprise custom dev shop, right? Like, we really want to be building a platform that serves many creators. And that's probably one of the biggest drivers, is how are we solving for the most common problems across creators? And I think the second piece is probably, there is probably like a little element of like our vision for what we think will solve for creators. I think you can't always, as a founder, right, you kind of have to have a vision for what you want it to look like. I think if you're constantly listening to other people and trying to make everyone happy, then you're going to get pulled in a lot of different directions. And the way I like to think about that is for product roadmaps, for company goals, and I'd say creator businesses have goals and should do this exercise too. Set a goal for yourself, set a goal for the business that's a year out, and see what it looks like. And that goal can move, but at least you're swimming towards something. And, if that changes directions, that's fine. But it's better than floundering or changing direction, like frantically, right? Like, you want to try to mobilize people towards a common goal and just be really honest about whether that goal is changing or not.
Yeah, no, cool. Good advice.
Yeah, thank you. So you're talking a lot about the creator side, but you also mentioned, invoices with brands and sponsors. And from my experience, sometimes, I'm not a business working with another business. I'm a creator working with brands. So sometimes they might not always be as transparent or, willing to share certain information. Do you guys have any products or features, I guess I should say, tailored towards brands as well to make it a more like two-sided product, or is it mostly focused on creators?
Uh, Everything we want to do is going to be creator first. That means if we work with brands, it'll be through a creator first perspective. I think a lot of companies out there cater towards brands, but it's because the brand comes first and the creators kind of serving that. We really want to build everything with what's in the best interest of the creators. One of our company values is we grow as creators grow, and so it always has to be aligned. With that said, we know there's a lot of friction around brand payments. I think there's two things we'll be doing there. One, content. We really want to be the trusted place where creators can come and get information on how to negotiate with brands, like simple things like always make sure you have a contract. It sounds really simple, but not every creator does it. So always make sure you have a contract, right? Number two, make sure you invoice them. I think sometimes people do the work and then they don't invoice them, and then they're like, "Where's the money?" It's like invoice them immediately after you're done, right? And those are I'd say more basic and best practices, but there's a lot more on, well, how do you negotiate? And we want to really be creating content that's designed for creators and creator language and understands what creators are working through. But then there's a second, which is really product. So how do we help solve for pain points in that? Our first, product to do that will be the invoicing, right? It'll automate a lot of what creators have to deal with today, which is, did they pay me? Did they not? Do I have to follow up? This is painful, right? This is now automated. You can see when you're paid, when you're not paid. You can hit a reminder. You can schedule an invoice to go out at a certain point, so you never forget. It's like, I know I'm going to be done. I'll just schedule the invoice to go out the next day. Done, right? You can actually have your manager do it for you within your account, and then you never have to ask questions. You can always see how things are done, and we'll also help you understand what your cash flow looks like. We heard this from a lot of creators where, I don't know, I have some things that are supposed to hit in, July and some in August, and I invoice and I don't really know, but what does that cash flow look like? We can now show you based on your invoices, what does that cash flow look like? And we can help you track your brand deals, right? You can just create an invoice for every brand that you're working with, put them in draft, and now you know what that looks like and what the potential cash flow is. So that's like one product-based solve that we're doing. We also have media kits that help empower creators. So we automatically pull in your data from Instagram, YouTube, and we'll be adding TikTok soon. And that data is updated regularly, so you don't have to go in there and type in, what are my subs today? What is my engagement rate? I mean, it's a real pain to do, right? It's just like a simple standard media kit that, we hope will become an industry standard where you're not spending all of this time agonizing over these details. Like, just a click that, we have a URL, like a slug that you can send to the brand, and they see the information, you're good, right? Different products like that we hope will help standardize. And, as we build those out, it's an opportunity for us to get more feedback from creators and learn about what other pain points they have so that we can continue building and solving for them.
I just want to make a comment here. It sounds as if Creative Juice is not just only going to be like a financial services firm for creators, but almost an all-in-one platform for creators as a whole to manage your business, to actually get everything done, essentially. Do you have any visions or ideals of what you envision that looking like in the future? Because it sounds like you're building out more than just the financial part. You're doing almost like the management as well.
Look, I am very long on the middle class of creators. I think a lot of times we talk about the Mr. Beasts, the Carters, the Prestons, and they're on our cap table. Like, they're amazing people and creators. But I think that more and more people are going to be able to make a living creating, right? Like, don't forget the median household income in the US is $50,000. 80% of small businesses in America make less than $100,000 a year. And we have tens of millions of small businesses in America. Creators are the next generation of small businesses. Like, that's just a fact as far as I'm concerned. So when you talk about banking, I think that banking is more than just a place to hold your money. Banking is helping you run your business. So this, to me, is what the next generation of banks looks like. And we're building what we think every creator deserves to be able to have. It's a place where you can put your money and manage it, but also, do some other things like manage your business. Like there's no, I think for every creator, working with a big manager that takes 20% of their income or whatever isn't an option. It's not viable. And if we can empower more creators to make a living doing what they love doing by helping solve some of the friction points, then that's a huge win for us.
Yeah, that sounds super exciting. As a person that works in the financial industry and works in banking and has worked in banking, I mean, I'm supporting this 100%. Your vision has sold me already.
Great.
Like,
you know where to sign up, getjuice.com.
Yeah.
So I really like how you said the middle class of creators, which is something I haven't heard before, but I am in 100% agreement that I wouldn't say neglected, but it feels like, I know I've talked to a lot of people who are building for the creator economy, and they're always trying to like say like, can you get me in touch with like Graham Stephan, who has like 3.7 million subscribers, right? Can you get me in touch with XYZ, who's another huge creator? But I'm like, there are probably thousands and thousands of channels that have like 500,000 subscribers, which is a ton, that you'll never hear of in your life. Even channels with like 10 million you'll never hear of in your life. And there's also thousands of channels with 100,000 or like 50,000. So I guess, would you break down the middle class as a amount of subscribers or amount of income? How would you describe the middle class of creators?
I think about it as income because YouTube is not always the main source of income for creators. You can have merch or
Right.
consulting services or other things that you do, but your creator content, right, your creator kind of presence is the lead for the other parts of your business. And so, when I think about that, we've met amazing cooking channels, right? We've met amazing business coaches that then have business services outside of just online. And I think that this is really what the future will look like. Back in the day, if you were a small business, you really, you're willing to pay a little premium for that corner spot on the road because you want the foot traffic. And then you're a website and you wanted to optimize for your SEO. And now as a creator, whether you're on YouTube or you create an Instagram shop that sells your wares, like your pottery or your ceramics or your swag, sweatshirts, whatever, and I bought stuff like that and I love it, is ultimately, you want to make a living doing it. And again, the median household income in the US is $50,000. I think sometimes people in coastal cities can get a little skewed in terms of what you need to make a living, right? But I think a lot more people are going to be living outside of those places and can do this, what their passion is. And I think that's something really amazing. So when I think about that, I'd say anyone, that can make a living doing it. That means north of $50,000 a year, and probably under 250,000 is like solidly middle class. And then there's obviously upper middle class as well. And we want to be investing in those businesses as well. We want to support them. We want to bank them on our platform. And then we also want to be investing in them.
Yeah, and going back to that investing point, I think it's fascinating that you guys are kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I would imagine it is that if you have access to literally the financials of all these creators, you can quite visibly see, who are the ones that would be the best investment opportunity. So is that kind of part of the idea, is that we'll have access to a pool of creators, we can see what their finances look like and identify the channels or brands that we'd want to invest in? What does that look like?
Yeah, so, I think it's twofold. One, we allow folks to connect their social media data into our platform. It's how we serve media kits. And also for things like investing, they fill out an application, they connect their channels so we can verify information. And we've built the technology and the data to be able to underwrite that. Today it's mostly off of YouTube because it's the most robust platform. So we can look at what your revenue looks like on YouTube and, we'll make forward-looking investments. We're the only company doing this right now. I think some other companies are out there buying back catalogs. We can do that as well, but we'd actually rather the creator take a bet on themselves and own their back catalog because that can always increase in value. Why sell it if you don't have to, right? And we'll give you capital and grow with you. We'll do revenue-based financing to grow with you over 2 to 3 years. And then you always own your content, right? You own your license, your back catalog, and we give you the capital to go do the thing that you wanted to do. I think I'd like to be able to invest in more and more creators, and part of being able to do that is having them bank with us. So invoice factoring is another way we can finance them, right? If you bank with us,
Right.
we trust you, we can get you your brand money faster. Otherwise, it's a highly risky, unfortunately, financial transaction to just take an invoice and give someone the money because you don't know if the brand's real or not, or there's like a lot of fraud there, right? But if you're banking with us, we get more comfortable doing that. We get more comfortable going deeper and saying, okay, we can do an investment out of Juice funds. There's just more flexibility around the things that we can provide creators when we know more about them because they're banking with us.
This sounds like it's a little bit of a case by case basis. Is it? And to me, it almost sounds like as if those creators that are looking for funding have to do their own sales pitch to you as making like a startup. You'd have to pitch to your VC. In this case, how rigorous is that process? Are you like meeting with these creators one-on-one, trying to figure out who they are and what they do, or is numbers enough for you? And what does that process look like?
We do talk to them.
Oh, nice.
So there's a little bit of both. Anyone can apply, just log in, apply for Juice funds. We're also doing outreach. We have partners that send us creators who need access to financing. I think it's hard to go to a bank and say, hi, I want money to go, invest in my YouTube channel. They're like, okay, great, bye. And so there is like a data-driven step where we kind of see who makes it to the next step. But before folks get money, we do talk to them. Part of it is also responsibility. Like we don't want to be giving people money and taking, a revenue-based share if they don't actually really need it to accomplish what they want. Like we really want to be responsible at how we're giving out the money, and we want to be working with people who are values aligned and kind of really invested in themselves as a business and making sure they're using their money to grow. So there are chats that we do to verify those pieces.
Is there like an advisory piece of this business? Because you effectively become an investor in them and you share their revenue with them. Is this maybe like a secret plan that's unrivaled, or is it already rolled out that you might have like content advisors, like helping creators flesh out their content, helping them grow, helping them scale in whatever project they're working on, or for now is it just strictly as a funder?
For now, we want folks to come to us because they want the money, and they have a plan for that. With that said, part of what makes revenue-based financing so powerful is that we do have very aligned incentives around growth. And so, we haven't quite figured out how to talk about this the right way yet, but we do monthly cohort meetings where we bring advice around marketing, platform relationships. Folks will ask us for help managing, for example, trademark infringement or copyright issues, and we'll connect them with the right folks to help them. So we want to be a big network for them that helps them solve some of their problems and makes things easier. But we're not like your content guru, and we're not going to be in there editing every video with you, right? It's a balance. We really want you to be successful. And I think part of the community of folks that we're working with is that each of the businesses that we invest in are so special that like you're also getting to meet more creators in a different setting and exchange ideas. And we hope that they build that camaraderie and can grow that way as well. And it's a safe place to talk about business stuff, right? So I think there's more that we want to be able to do there as well.
Cool, super interesting stuff.
Yeah, I had one more follow-up for the investing side, just because I think this is something, like you said, not a lot of people are doing, or maybe no one is doing. I had actually applied to Juice Funds, and I got an interview with Dustin, and we talked a little bit, and it was really, really interesting, and I was actually, I don't know what I can and can't say, but I was able to like meet some interesting people, just to be on the safe side. And I love what you guys are doing in terms of like maybe the advisory side. I'm for the audience, I'm not working with Creative Juice, like I don't have a deal signed or anything, and I'm still kind of in that process of, I guess, getting screened, but for me, like for my content, it's very low overhead. So that leads into my question of maybe there is a really profitable channel or someone's on an amazing trajectory that you might want to invest in, but what if their videos are just like a podcast where you're just talking to a camera, or maybe they're talking about stocks where their cost per video is really low. How do you approach that as an investment, or is that not just, it doesn't fit into your criteria?
No, it definitely does, because for a lot of these folks, the money will be used for another editor to get content out faster.
Right.
Or there's a side business that's related to the channel. So for one of our creators, he sells candy. He sells gamer candy, and he is, doing incredibly well. He's so talented. He makes me laugh. Like his humor, he's great. And he wanted to upgrade the candy machine, but that required a large capital investment. It was $250,000. And so, we wanted to be able to give him access to the funds that he could use to grow his business. So, I think just because you have a mic and a camera, doesn't mean that you don't have other business opportunities that with financing you could take advantage of and grow, right? Maybe I didn't know that you applied, Matthew, to Juice Funds. I don't know what your application looks like or anything, but I'm just going to make this up, right? But let's say you wanted to kick off, a content course or something around, investing, and you needed upfront capital investment because you're going to hire, some assistant to help you write content and do all of that stuff, and that person needs to be paid. And you don't want to pull from the other money, right? Even though you could, but it'll put stress on other stuff. So this is what every business does. Every business has access to financing that helps them grow, except for creators, right? It's really amazing how creators have grown so much without access to any of that. It's been largely organic growth and friends and family helping out. And so let's make it official. Creators are real businesses. They should get access to financing. We have to do our diligence in making sure that the money is being used for real business purposes and that we believe in the plan. But it's pretty lightweight. It's not like applying for a line of credit at a bank or, taking out a loan. And we hope that we can make it really easy and understandable for creators. And then we can grow with them.
Love it. Yeah. So I will definitely, maybe we'll stay in touch on my process or something. I think I'm rewriting the application in the coming week or so, putting together a little plan. But to refocus a bit on the journey of Creative Juice and building the company, what were the first couple of weeks like? How did you put together a team? Was it a collective group of you that said, we have a great team together, let's work on it? Or how did you guys start, I guess?
Yeah. At first I wasn't sure I wanted to do this. I was trying to figure out what brought me joy in life. And I ultimately, Ezra, my co-founder, is amazing. He's got great relationships in the creator space. And if I was going to do this, I felt like I needed a partner who really understood creators, as I learned, because I didn't want to be building for a group of people I didn't understand. And so we kind of decided, let's go do it. We raised some money. We started building out a team, amazing engineer, head of engineering, designers. And, the team's awesome. I really couldn't ask for a better group of people to be working with. But that meant that I was doing a lot of recruiting in the early days. Cold emailing people, hey! And, trying to see who'd be a good fit and be interested in building something. And, I'd say joining an early stage company can be a little too much uncertainty for some people. And there's a little bit of making sure folks know what they're getting into. But at the same time, it can also be really fun for folks that like to build because there's no politics. There's not many meetings. It's just about how do we get on the same page and build something really cool.
Right. So go ahead, Nick.
I'm curious about a little bit more of the story on when you were deciding and you're like, okay, maybe I need a co-founder that really understands creators a little bit more. Yeah. You brushed over that as if it almost took you a week and you're like, yeah, I'm ready to go. And then so we raised money. Typically that's an entire company story, right? Was it a short and sweet process? Did you know how to do everything when you raised money? And can you bring us through a little bit of that story through the process in the first week where you're looking for financing before you even built the team? What was it like?
Look, I think it was probably easier for us to raise money than for many folks. And that's part of it. Both my co-founder and I are seasoned entrepreneurs at this point. He's built multiple companies. And, I came fresh off of Plaid, where I was number 15 and, was there scaling that company. And I have to say, like, this would be so much harder not having gone through that. And I angel invest. I kind of mentor other founders. And it's so different when this is one of the first times. You don't know how to recruit. You don't know how to interview. You're trying to figure out basic systems. And so we were really fortunate in having the experiences that helped us to, raise money and work with investors that we really wanted to work with. Like, we had a lot of relationships with folks in the US. And what I'd say is, look, like early stage companies, as investors, you're making a bet on the person, right? It's even like more, I'd say, risky than what we're doing investing in creators, because with the creator business, we see a track record. There's content they're already doing. They're already kind of out there making money, right? And we're just helping them grow. With early stage investing, it was a concept, it was a deck. We had a little bit of a demo of our product, but it wasn't super real. And I'd say that, like, in 1 year that we've been at it, like, it's changed massively. And so what investors are making a bet on is the thesis that the creator economy is going to grow, that, me and my co-founder are people who are going to be committed and make good decisions and figure it out as we go and build a great team of people to work with us on it. And so I think the hardest part for me personally was just deciding that I wanted to do it. And it was the only thing that, I guess, got me interested enough to think about doing something and committing my time to this.
Cool.
So, yeah.
As a seasoned professional, in your own quoting words.
Now you make me sound old. Thanks, Nick. Thanks.
Not meant in that way, but do you have any tips for our audience that are trying to jump off? They're in the idea phase, and oftentimes a lot of people do struggle, like, getting their project and getting their plan launched off before. We often talk about execution on this podcast. Any advice in regards to maybe the execution part and the steps between execution, planning, and, like, finding your first, I guess, fundraise?
I'd say if you have relationships, use them to get introductions. Again, early stage investing is so much about making a bet on the person, that if people can vouch for you as a person of integrity who's going to stay through and committed, then that helps. Use them. I'd say if you don't have any relationships, then it puts more pressure on the product thesis, right? And, like, data points that prove your strategy or your point of view is one worth investing in. So build a beta. Someone talked to me about a hack. They build a product, and instead of just building the whole product, right, they built the application form. And they're like, look, I built a website. I talked about what this product is going to be. And then I even got, 1,000 people to go through the application form because they were so interested in the product. So that doesn't require a lot of money to build. It's a good hack for how do you prove demand for that product. And they were able to go raise from really great investors. So I think that gets to your point around execution. Think about what is the, like, most minimal viable product I can build that's going to prove my thesis. So that I can show enough interest and demand that I can go raise money and then actually go, like, execute on that thesis.
Beautiful advice.
Great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I'm glad all my years of experience were able to shed some value.
So that person essentially made, like, a more engaging wait list of sorts. Like, they built a website showing the idea and the application, but behind the application, there was no product yet.
Correct.
Wow.
All someone received was an email that says, thanks so much for your application. Like, stay tuned to learn more.
What a story. Wow. So what's top of mind today for Creative Juice? Are there any challenges you guys are dealing with right now? Or are things just cruising?
I think, look, like, there's always challenges, right? Like, my full-time job is to solve problems and give people access to resources, right? Like, that is what it is. I think we try to stay pretty even-keeled about it. Like, not everything has to be a fire drill. Like, this is a marathon, not a sprint. And just because we're not running around like crazy people doesn't mean that we're not working on tough stuff, right? I think one of our values is, like, live your best life. This is work. Like, we do it because it's fun and we're building something we believe in, but we can do that in a really measured way. And I'd say from the things that I am most focused on right now, product. We want to launch more product faster. There's some really cool things that we're building out right now that I'm excited to come out. I wish they were out already, but they're not. And so, it's just staying focused on how do we get product out and get folks to use it and give us feedback. And then second, we'll be doing a lot of changes on the marketing. We have an amazing head of marketing who's joined us recently, and she's just, kicking butt around some of the things that we need to be doing. And I'm really excited about that because I think we've built some really great things, but we're not always articulating it the best way. And she is just super talented and is going to help us tell that story in a more powerful way. So stay tuned for 2 of those. And we'll be talking more about the investing that we're doing into creators too, Matthew. I won't say more there, but stay tuned in the next few weeks, and we'll be really making sure creators know that we're there for them, and in particular wanting to invest in the middle class of creators. And we have some really strong diversity goals as well around what that looks like that we're really excited about too.
Awesome. So getjuice.com, right?
That's right. Getjuice.com. My marketing lead told me, our head of marketing said, make sure you plug getjuice.com on Instagram at getjuice, and follow us on Twitter.
Great. Yes, do all that. We also want to talk a bit more about you as a person. Maybe, it's hard to say outside of Creative Juice because that's what you're doing right now. But just more about you as a person, your experience and all that stuff. One thing I want to lead with was I heard that you focus on emerging technologies within heavily regulated spaces. And I want to understand that a bit more because what emerging technologies and then why heavily regulated spaces? Because it seems like that would usually pose more obstacles or maybe more opportunity.
I think it's both. It's obstacles and opportunity. Look, I think we all continue to learn about ourselves as we grow. So even though I'm apparently really old, I'm still learning about myself. And what I'd say is I like solving hard problems. And when they're heavily regulated, it means that it's harder to solve. There's more constraints or things that you have to figure out together, but it's also an opportunity to solve problems. That means, to me, the industries that are probably the most interesting are financial services and healthcare. And those 2 things also are some of the highest barometers of happiness, right? Like how healthy are you? How financially stable do you feel? And if we can, as a society, help people manage those 2 things, then I hope people can live better, happier lives. So that's why heavily regulated spaces.
Got it. And so I guess that kind of poses an interesting question of, say there were 2 opportunities I were to present you with, and one is maybe a bit easier, but that probably means there's a lot more competition. It's more of like a who gets there first. And then another is in a much more heavily regulated space, and that's like the main obstacle. So which one would you go for in that case?
I choose the harder one, so the heavily regulated one. I get bored easy, I want to sell something really hard. And so definitely the heavily regulated space.
Got it. I guess not too much of a surprise there after what we just talked about. And then another thing that I had heard you mention before was FinTech 3.0. And about how you're building vertical SaaS solutions around a bank account, and what's most attractive about banks will be the software built around it. So could you go into that a bit more? Maybe if you have a thesis there, or just explain for the audience what that means.
Wow, I'm impressed you did your homework. I'd say, look, FinTech 1.0 was probably just banks, right? Like banks getting online and digital. There was a day where I had to go to the bank to open a bank account. I got statements every month. There was no online experience. I had no app, right? Now I can do pretty much everything I want without ever having to step into a bank. And I do. I never go to the bank. That's 1.0. And that was not an easy process for banks to figure out. And they're still figuring it out, right? Most traditional banks have really awful experiences. And I'm still texting and getting phone calls from them. It's not fully digital, right? FinTech 2.0, I think Plaid helped herald in, where you had apps that connected to your main bank account, and Plaid made that data transfer simple, right, and instant. And so you had really great companies that came out of that, including Coinbase, right? They're part of FinTech 2.0. And then I think there's FinTech 3.0, which is you're going to have kind of banks that are actually solving more than just the money, holding your money. And this is where I want Creative Juice to be sitting. So when you have a Juice account, right, you have a bank account. It's FDIC insured. We work with regulated entities on the back end to make all of that work. You get a debit card, anything that you would expect from a more traditional bank, but then you also get smart invoicing. right? Like why do you have to have a separate invoice provider from your banking account? It doesn't make sense. It should all be integrated because it's all of your money movement in and out. Similarly, there's things like the manager access, right? Like why do I have to have a separate place where my manager or my business partner is doing QuickBooks or other analytics, and then now we're in the bank account and we're there? Like, why can't it all just be in one place and help solve for some of my needs? So that's where I would call FinTech 3.0. And I think you're seeing a lot of this. There's like banking for freelancers or banking for property owners or banking for whatever, because they're solving more than just holding up money. They're solving other workflow challenges. And I think, in 10, 15 years, we're going to have multiple bank accounts and they're going to be solving different problems for us. But the beauty of that is we get more time, we are making less spreadsheets, and we have more control over our money, and that's a good thing.
So what would those multiple bank accounts be, for example?
I think property owners will be using a different type of bank to manage their payments from tenants and to manage property payments. And that'll make taxes easier for them too, because you have to do property in a different place. I think, if you're a creator, you'll have a creative banking account, your business banking account with Juice, right? And then you may also have a personal bank account with another bank that does something else for you. If you are a teacher, you may have a bank that's specific for you because there's specific tax stuff that you can get when you make purchases, or because you identify with being a teacher and there's a lot of institutional support there. So in some ways, it's almost like recreating what credit unions used to be. If you were at Boeing, you had a credit union for you, and you could have a bank account for you that identified with yourself there. So I think we'll bank with institutions that relate to us and solve for our specific needs. Similarly, doctors may have their own bank. Doctors and nurses, they get paid in different ways sometimes depending on how they're clocked at the hospital. So why not just make that one easy solution for them?
Right. So I guess you mentioned fintech and healthcare as your two kind of, I guess, maybe favorite industries. Have you thought about how that looks like with healthcare?
You mean what's changing there?
Like a fintech 3.0 bank account with healthcare, like with do you have an idea of what that would look like? Or I guess if you weren't building this type of bank for creators, what other industry would you apply this idea to?
Let's see. I probably teachers, honestly, because I think they're the right type of group for this. I think someone could do that. I think probably nurses. I don't know if you realize this, but sometimes nurses work across different state lines. They have different licensing challenges. Their pay can be a bit different, and there's a lot of kind of lack of visibility into some of that. So I probably want to build for nurses or other professionals like that who are doing amazing work, but don't always have the financial services that could make their lives easier.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And this might be a little too far out, but is there a FinTech 4.0 that you have in mind?
It probably has to do with Web 3.0. FinTech 4.0, okay. Web 3.0, I don't know. I haven't figured that out exactly, but it's probably FinTech 4.0 is taking a combination of all of the stuff below and FinTech 1.0 to 3.0 and doing something with the Web 3.0. I haven't quite figured
integration
that out
of every financial instrument.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
Something.
All the banks in one. Just
right.
I'm going to title it McDonald's platform. Just everybody uses it.
Great.
I'm coining that here.
How do you ideate on like things like this? How much time do you spend, I guess, thinking about maybe the future or trends like this in your average week? Do you set aside time or?
I guess, one of the things I love doing is talking to interesting people, and it pushes my thinking and it helps me develop my own thesis on these things. So it's right now I'm in a very heavy execution phase, right? Like you have different forms of your life, and I really want Juice to come off the ground. But before we started really focusing on Creative Juice, I spent 6 months just like thinking about this stuff and reading about it and talking to tons of people. And so the last year and a half has really been around execution of that thesis and what I've learned there. But, I love it when my team pushes me to think about things, and Web 3.0, for example, and how that could tie in with what we're doing. But, candidly, right now, I'm probably more of an execution phase.
Got it. And you mentioned different forms of your life. Could you expand on that a bit more?
Probably more that at different times in your life, you have different, I have different capacity for what I'm interested in. So when I left Plaid and before I started Creative Juice, it was a lot of just thinking about what I wanted to do and exploring ideas and coming up with theses like this, right? I had like a little notepad where I'd write random thoughts down and kind of unpack them on my own time. And that was what I was accountable for doing, was figuring out what my next thesis was. I'd say before I joined Plaid and being at American Express, I kind of just, took some time and was like, wow, I think that there has to be a better way than what mainstream institutions are doing. And I really want to be in FinTech because I think that's the future. And this was before people thought FinTech would be a big thing. And so for me, finding some time when I'm contemplating change in my life to figure out what my theses are and where I want to bet my time is important. And, right now I'm at a different time of life where I've thought about the thesis, I've made a bet, and now I'm executing on it to become a reality. After this, I'm sure there'll be some more downtime on figuring out what I want to do. And I think that's the beauty of life. It's a journey.
Yeah, I think a little comment here that I've just been listening to you speak, and would it be right for me to say that you make decisions based off of what might challenge you currently in life, and then you build a framework around that? Because jumping from Plaid to something like Creative Juice, you were like, what can I do that can really challenge me in life? Is this like your why? Or rather, the question would be like, why do you do what you want to do, right? What drives that underneath all of this thinking and underneath all this planning and execution?
Yeah.
Is there like an underlying like engine of like, hey, I want to accomplish this one day?
That is such a deep question, and I probably have a different answer depending on when you ask me that. But I'd say what drives me or has driven me for the last 20 years is, how do you deliver better financial services for people because it helps them live a better life? So from government, right, to American Express, which I think is a really great values-driven company, to Plaid, where we basically created the infrastructure that powers FinTech, which created so many more options for people. It broke down traditional banking fee structures. Like, that's huge. To now at Creative Juice, like helping power a segment of the economy that I think is very special, right? Like people who are following their passions and connecting directly with people outside of traditional institutions. It's a very powerful concept. And that gets me excited, like making impact. I think there's another part of me that was really excited about starting my own company because I wanted to try to build a culture that reflected what I thought companies could be, where, you can live your best life, right? It's not about people micromanaging you. Like if you hire people who, are highly accountable to themselves and motivated, then like, why do you have to be in an office from 9 to 5? Why can't you ski a couple hours a day, as long as obviously you're not leaving someone hanging, right? And be able to do that. And so I was excited by that challenge, and it's been fun. But ultimately, I think at a high level, what drives me is like, how do I make impact at scale? And how do I help people live better lives? Whether mostly it's been financial, but I have a couple ideas in the future for other ways of doing that.
Excited to hear about more.
Stay tuned.
In the future.
Stay tuned.
Do you have a goal or a milestone that to measure your impact, or is it more just that this will make an impact?
No milestones, I'd say. It's more my gut or how I feel, and like, a thesis that I believe in, right? And measuring myself up against that thesis.
Got it. Yeah, I really like the way you framed everything. From the very, very beginning of this podcast, you said finances and health are two things that, kind of make up a person's happiness at a given point. And I think a lot of times we hear, especially in the startup world, like, we're making the world a better place, right? That's the classic line. But you've made it a lot less vague and almost more tangible. And I think, I really appreciate that perspective. But Nick, unless you have anything else, I think we can jump into the last section of the podcast, which is like a lightning round of questions that we ask every guest. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just want to reiterate Matthew's comments. You've been a phenomenal guest, and I think a lot of our audience will find really good insight into what we discussed about today. Thank you.
I appreciate that, and I'm excited to hear that. I will warn you, my computer is going to run out of battery. So I don't know if this is like going to be edited, but should I go run it and grab my charger, or would that be a good excuse for me cutting off when a rapid fire? Oh, sorry, my battery ran out.
How much time do you think what is left on the battery? Like, what percent are you at?
We're at 9%, so we should be okay, right?
Okay, we should be fine. Yeah,
Okay.
we should be fine.
We'll be
Yeah.
fine.
Keep them rapid. Keep them
all right.
rapid.
Yeah, we'll keep them rapid. Yeah, so once again, guys, check out getjuice.com at getjuice on Instagram.
Yep.
At GetJuice on Instagram. Everything will be down in the description or show notes. But let's jump into the Founder Framework questions. These are something we ask every single guest we have on the show. So 1 to 3 word answers, if possible, for the sake of your laptop's battery life. So who's your role model?
Gosh. I'll throw one out. Hillary Clinton.
Okay. What's your last meal on earth?
Roasted carrots.
Oh, interesting. Hustle culture, yay or nay?
Yay.
Yay. Okay. What's the number one skill set that's helped you get to where you are today?
Perseverance.
We may have touched on this one before, but if you weren't working on Creative Juice right now, what would you be building?
I'd probably be writing a book or something.
And lastly, the number one lesson you've learned ever.
Wow. It's not always really about you.
Oh.
I like that one. That's great.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, we, again, like Nick said, you're an amazing guest. I hope everyone enjoyed this episode. Again, check out everything we've linked down below for Creative Juice. And we hope to see you again soon.